Hi, this is Sean Lardo. I am the Economy Evangelist at IT Nation. We are here at the Central Mafia Hit Squad in the CompTIA studio. And I'm here today with actually a good friend of mine, Vince from Moovila. You probably see him.
Hey, everybody.
Good looking. He's actually like 75 years old. Looks like he's 25.
Feels like
he's still amazing. I don't know. You have to let me know what you use for your skin later. See? So, and then we have Vanessa. Vanessa, I'll let you introduce yourself, though.
I'm Vanessa Eldridge. I work for an MSP in Southern Indiana called 5 Star Technology Solutions, and we've been in business over 15 years, and I've actually been associated with the company from the beginning, but on the other side of it as a customer. And then they said, hey, why don't you come work for us? So I've been with the company almost 10 years now and have been in just about every aspect of the company other than sales and professional development. And now I am the director of project management for our company.
I need some of that too.
I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right, so, before we get deep into what you do and stuff, Vince, you want to give us a little bit of background on you?
Yeah, sure. On me or Moovila or
No, you.
combinations?
We'd like to know you. Favorite color, pink.
So I've been with Moovila about 6 years now. I've worked with our CEO for, about 20. A core group of our Moovila team, our Moo crew, as they say, have been together for quite a while through a number of different businesses. We focused on project management and have been in the MSP community for about 2.5 years now. Certified Invent Program member, and we integrate and automate with regards to project and resource management.
Nice. You play soccer.
I do still try to play a little soccer. I do.
I have pictures.
You do? You do not?
You sent me stuff.
What? Oh, I might have. Yeah.
Late night text.
Shouldn't have done that.
Well, exactly. Some drinks. Who are you calling now?
Right.
So, enough about you.
Yes.
Please stop talking about yourself. It's embarrassing.
Yes.
Let's go back to Vanessa. So, you are a customer at Moovila, and the whole point of creating this content, these videos, is because one thing that we always see is that from a vendor's perspective, if he would just start talking, it would become a sales pitch, right? Even if it isn't, it still would
Right.
be. So it's always best to talk about use case scenarios and what you do, how it applies to your business, and because you're the one in the trenches doing it. So we want to capture some of this to some degree, that they understand how you got to where you got to and why you even do it. So because a lot of MSPs, which are most of my friends are MSPs, which tells you how much of a masochist I am, and desperate. But with that though, it's important that they hear something from you're credible because you're doing it. So with that said, let's talk about. I know that you guys had a story about the fact that there was a change that had to occur where you guys wanted to get more to be more of a project management type company. So can you give us a little background on that?
Sure. We've always been a reactive ticket-based company, and never really had moved into the project realm until about 3 years ago, and some things started changing and happening, and I moved into the dispatch role, and then they said, what about project management? It was, I'll pull this ticket. We were using a cello and had to move from there into ConnectWise. And once we started realizing we're doing more and more projects, they said, hey, can you do both? Sure, bring it on. I love what I do at 5 Star, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I was working 10 hours a day trying to keep track. And then they said, okay, what about let's move you into just project management? Great, I'll do it. So with ConnectWise, it didn't have all the tools that I needed. So I started looking and ran across Moovila, and then reached out to DJ Hannon, who also works at 5 Star. He started looking at it, and he's like, this is fantastic. I mean, it had all of the pieces that we needed in order to be able to still use ConnectWise in the way that we needed to do it. I mean, everything syncs over. So we started looking at it. We did a demo, and I said, I have to have this. And in the last 3 years, we have gone from not having a ton of projects to we closed 60 projects in June and July.
Wow.
And I didn't really feel that impact because I was able to be more efficient with Moovila in that aspect.
60 projects. What was it prior to? What was the average that you would see of projects?
Well, summer's always really busy for us at 5-star because all the schools are closed. We're doing E-rate, and so we're very busy in the summer. But it didn't feel as busy
Right. Okay.
because I was able to, be able to be more efficient with, assigning resources instead of them just grabbing whatever to work on. They were accountable at that time.
Well, you said early on when you first started talking, you said changing from being reactive
To proactive.
right. And
Yes.
so, and something I'm huge on data. I like to quantify what I do, right?
Right.
So do you ever sit back and think, because going back to what you said, you didn't feel it as much. There wasn't so much of the rub. What was the changeover in percentage of time saved or just more efficiency? Do you ever think about that at all?
Yeah, I'm fine. Sometimes it's hard for me to fill 8 hours in my day. So,
I recommend soccer.
well, I read, I play a little bit of pickleball, and
Everybody plays. I gotta start playing pickleball.
Yeah.
so,
But I think a big part of it too, the efficiencies that you've gained, so that allows you to take on more and more projects without necessarily having to add more heads to the staff, right?
yeah, I watched, ConnectWise did a webinar, and they had a project manager that led the webinar, and she was talking about how many projects she manages by herself.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I can do that. And at one point, I did have over 90 projects in my queue.
Oh wow. Okay.
But being able to differentiate like what category we're in, if it's a cybersecurity project, I know the amount of each department. I know how many projects I have in that department. So then I can go in and say, well, okay, I've got 12 infrastructure projects. I need to make sure I can utilize my infrastructure team and that I can keep somebody at the tier 2 level working those reactive tickets, but at the same time having, our subject matter experts and our higher level engineers being able to work those projects as needed.
Sure. Okay. So in other words, you're able to understand how many bodies to dispatch, based off what skill set as well, right? And then also, I'm assuming staffing is affected by this as well.
Yes. We have 22 engineers total in our department, and we are. We just acquired a new school, and we onboard those clients, every piece in their environment, networking, cybersecurity, all of it. I have to utilize every team
Wow. Okay.
in the engineering department to make that happen.
So essentially, Moovila has actually become part of your onboarding experience for clients.
Yes.
Probably 100%.
Yes. I completely rely on Moovila to help me get through an onboarding project. Yes.
So the challenge, and because you searched and you were trying to figure it out. Challenge with MSPs is time in the beginning, right? That's one of the biggest. Actually, Vince and I had the conversation about that when we talked about onboarding and whatnot. How good, bad, indifferent, whatever was it to onboard you guys first to understand how to use the product before you actually got into action?
The experience was phenomenal, and to me, not fast enough. But I was anxious to get started with the product.
We were as fast as we could.
And we did. And they were going as fast as possible, and I attribute calming me down to Jared, because he's like, there's a process, Vanessa. We have to follow this process. So you're going to be able to use the product the way that it is intended for you to use. And we did that. I got started, and I'm in it every day trying to learn something new. I can reach out and say, hey, I'd like to see this type of dashboard. How can you help me do that? Jared actually built one for me about a month ago and said, here it is. I don't normally do this, but you can have it, and I'll delete it when you get done and make a copy. They're very attentive as they are, they have those 150 clients on the MSP side, knowing that they're changing as we change or as they see a need that we bring to them. Anybody can do it. You bring to them and say, hey, I think if you did this, it would help me do this.
Right.
With the scheduling piece that they just implemented, I was over the moon about being able to have smart scheduling, so that I wasn't in ConnectWise looking at the dispatch portal. It's right there in front of me in Moovila. So
I love that. And I have two things I'm thinking about right off the bat. But one, first off, is Vince, you and I talked about this, is yes, you provide a product, but you also provide a service to help with people that don't know how to necessarily do project management or be as effective as they should be, correct?
That's exactly right. So we have learned that, oftentimes, depending on the size of the MSP and the maturity, that the project managers may not have the experience that other industries may have, or there may be an engineer that's managing projects, and that's a very different skill set, right? As engineering and technology versus project management. So through our services and even through the software, we've helped the MSP sort of raise their game a bit, I think.
yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
On project management core principles and best practices around managing a project in a really large portfolio, which is oftentimes what we're seeing at the MSPs.
Right.
Vanessa's talking about closing 60 projects. You have how many active?
Right.
That's a lot of data to track, a lot of tasks to track, a lot of people to track, skills to track, customers to make happy. So we try to build in as much automation as we can so that you can focus on more of the people aspect of the project management, and less about the things that software should be doing. Updating timelines, for example.
Yeah, I think it's important because actually when you and I spoke about that, we talked about the service related to this, because you can give as much technology as you want to somebody, but if they don't know how to actually apply it,
Right.
it's irrelevant.
Yep.
And so that's a big part. And obviously, well, you're obviously operationally minded. That's really good. most MSPs should learn from you how to be that. The owners themselves. But okay, so. And then going back into the scheduler being, smart scheduling and whatnot, can you dig into that a little bit of what that means?
Sure. Smart scheduling, I've got a task that I need done. It's got an hour to do it. I can go in and pull it. I've already built a list of just my engineers. And I can go find who's available and then just drag and drop that into their schedule. Seeing, their lunch is there, what tickets they're working on today. It's all listed in there. And then that helps me see utilization. It's just phenomenal. Like, it even will do RPACs inside of there. It's just, I can't say enough about it, honestly. As a company, 5-star, our goal always is to provide 5-star quality service. That's the name of our company. And being able to partner with Moovila has allowed us to provide that 5-star quality service that we've strived to provide the whole time we've been in existence.
Sure.
Vanessa, you mentioned accountability earlier on. And so as you're scheduling things, you have a project, you're scheduling the right engineers at the right time, the ones that have the right skills, they get assigned that work. Talk to me more about the accountability benefits that you've gotten as an organization from that point.
So with the timelines, I've assigned somebody a task, and it's on their schedule. Well, they didn't get to it. They'll get an email the next day. I get an email, and then I get a message from them in Slack. So I'm sorry I didn't get that done yesterday. And I don't even actually send the email. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm doing that today. Or, can I move it to a different day?
Sure.
So. No,
I'm glad you asked that, because I was thinking not the accountability, but the transparency of it all.
Sure.
Far too often you hear, you don't know what the left and right hand are doing, right? They don't know what each other are doing. That's the problem. Right. And that's everything from the sales rep that sells something, but over to client success, to the project management of it, there's always a disconnect so often. So I imagine this actually helps with all of that, because salesperson makes a sale, contract goes in, deliverables are uploaded. You then begin dispatching. So at that point, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Vince knows what he's doing. We know when we're supposed to do it, and there's no confusion.
Right.
I don't know. It's like a mic drop to me. If you understood the pain I've suffered, and it happens not just, by the way, it's not just MSPs. That's at every level of all businesses.
Oh yeah.
I've worked in large companies and smaller companies, and it is a struggle. The pain is real.
It's like that in a classroom too.
Yes.
Just saying.
Oh, I know. Yeah. What do you know about classrooms?
Used to be in one.
Oh, we've all been in one. That doesn't
Well,
really
in
help.
front of children. So
Me too. I have kids. So, is there anything else we want to add to this?
I would say, when we were talking earlier, Vanessa, you were talking about how you did a presentation about project management
Yes.
to your leadership team, and there were some interesting insights and feedback
Yes.
that you received after doing so.
the president of our company attended this retreat for all of the department leaders, and again, a nervous wreck knowing that he was going to be there. And we sat down. I did my presentation. Took about an hour, and after we were finished, he said, this position didn't exist. We created this position and hoping, that." And he said, "What you've done with this position is amazing." He said, "I had so many questions during your presentation, but," he said, "I didn't want to interrupt you like every 5 minutes." He said, "But you and I need to sit down and talk." He said, I knew you were busy, but I didn't realize the realm of exactly everything you do until today." And he said, I'm very impressed. And I've grown not only as a project manager, but as a person in this role. I often tell my boss, because, in your review, it's often, "Well, what's your ideal job?" They don't like the answer of this one, right? Most
Right.
of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I don't get to swim with sharks and play with sea turtles. That's my ideal job. But
Amen.
this is the job I'm built for that I do right now." So
That's impressive. Did that come with a raise?
maybe.
Back to quantifying.
Maybe.
It should have.
Maybe.
And that's good, I think. So, and the product itself, again, it's an operational product first. So it is client success. So it's anybody within that realm, essentially, right? Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say, yeah.
And it may be even fair to say that anybody that runs the tech team, the support team too, is involved, because typically a lot of things get originated from tickets that become projects too. Is that safe to say?
Would you say that's safe to say,
Yes.
5-star? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and so does everybody have access to this? In your company, for instance, I mean, I know you're the grand poobah of all, obviously, but like, how do you work in collaboration with other departments when they're working with, if they're doing a QBR, for instance, the account manager's doing a QBR, right? And they find there's something they have to work on that might lead to a project, right? Do they go and implement, or is there a process you build outside of that?
There's a process outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
that we have a gentleman who he's the one building our scopes of work,
Yep.
doing these LQE sheets and making sure that we're being fair to the customer, but also taking care of us. And then, I look over the scope of work just to make sure everything that's in it is, before I meet, like we do an internal kickoff meeting. I do an external kickoff meeting with
Good.
the client, and then I meet with the client periodically throughout that project. But most of the time, I will read verbatim the scope of work to the client just to clarify that, yes, they understand that is what they signed,
Sure.
and that anything outside of that scope,
You got to negotiate it.
we got to know. Yeah.
That's your change. That's your
Yes.
change management at that point. Okay.
Yes.
So how long does that take approximately, you think? What's this cycle?
Usually, I'll give an example. We got this new project on Friday for a new client that we are getting in Wisconsin, and I had within a week I had both the internal and external kickoff meetings finished.
And then you upload into Moovila what's going on then at that point?
The project's already in Moovila by the time I start all of that.
Oh, no, okay.
So it comes across the sales board.
Correct. That's what I want to go with that. I think it's important. And that's the thing is people get nervous that there's too many moving parts happening, right? And who owns it and how do you make it simple? Earlier we had a conversation with a couple other people talking about the SOP of things. So I guess the standard operating procedure for you all is whatever it is, but it gets implemented and you're already working on it
Yep.
to validate. and
Yeah, the
verify.
sales order comes across to the project board in ConnectWise. I then pull it up, go through the scope of work again to make sure
Mhm.
nothing has changed.
Yep.
bring it over into Moovila, apply the template, and then schedule meetings. I've spun up a project channel in Slack so that everybody involved is, aware of what's going on, including the account manager.
Sure.
So I keep everybody in the loop, and then we do all of it. Any meeting notes are generated and go into Slack, and so yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, I would assume that external meeting is already part of the project plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it makes sense to put it in
Yep.
on day one, essentially, review, make sure it's good, and then schedule.
Yeah, and the client knows ahead of time work does not start until I have everything I need from them in order for us to do the project, whether it's credentials or just different information.
Now, do you have people that work below you for doing project management?
Mm-mm.
So it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
And how many do you run concurrently?
Right
typically?
now I have 75 projects.
That's it? That's embarrassing. So, I mean, okay, so 75 projects. That obviously, based off complexity, might adjust the amount you do between,
Right.
Apparently anywhere from 50 to 1,000 for you, I guess, projects at a time. So that's impressive. And you said you have a hard time filling in 8 hours of a day sometimes.
Don't let my boss hear that one.
Cut that.
Sorry, Niall.
I'm going to need payments.
I can make that happen.
I'm getting a raise right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa, I'm curious about, with all those projects going on, you have a portfolio view so you can see everything in one glance. How has the communication and reporting been to your leadership team with the changeover from Moovila, and then also like back out to the customer? Has anything changed since you've started using the system?
There's more transparency on both sides. If I run into an issue, it's an immediate email to the client saying, hey, this has happened. Do you want to meet and talk about it? Or are you good with this email communication? And the same way with the leadership team. So I keep a running document pinned in my web browser of every project we have going right now. And so whether or not it's got an agreement attached to it, if there's no agreement, that means it's built into the project. And I'm in that document probably 10, 12, 15 times a day making changes or updates. And our leadership team all has access to that document. I can pull, reports out of Moovila as well when we have things happen. Why did we go over 15 hours on this particular task?
Sure.
And then I can, give that information to them. But as, with a client, it's often said that there's nothing I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be a ticket or
Right.
they're like, go to Vanessa, she knows everything. Not the case, but that's they feel
Perception is
like
9/10 reality.
Right.
So
You know more than everyone else. So.
exactly. So you know everything.
Now you know everything, right?
Mm-hmm. No, but that's good you brought that up, because when it comes down to the way people use things, so Moovila, you're working on it ConnectWise, so like manage PSA, that's where you're at, right? That's where yes, you're doing work in Moovila, but your team is working out of the PSA as well. And then the end users, where are they working out of? How do you operate with them?
It's normally I don't communicate with end users in Moovila. That's our clients are not inside of there.
Yep.
So I still communicate through ticket.
Sure.
Inside of ConnectWise with them, or or an email, and then just copy that email into a ticket note, just so everybody's aware that this happened.
Yep.
So anybody on the project can see that ticket note.
So, and that's important, because one thing you see a lot of hesitancy on is they hesitate to, they don't want to buy a product that can't integrate into their PSA, because it's impossible to teach. If people are already all using this and it's one way of doing business, to put them into something else has been the biggest struggle for years. So that's why it's kind of important that they understand that they don't have to leave the PSA. They can stay right there working, because the techs don't want to.
Right.
That's exactly right.
They don't want to. They want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been your job for 10 years doing this.
Yeah.
Now it's like, hey, here's a new product. Good luck.
Keep doing it that way. You're just
Yep.
going to have better data.
Right.
There, you're going to have more accurate dates. We're going to be
Yep.
more easily schedule you, and we're going to be able to manage the project like we want to be able to out of the Moovila system.
I think it comes back to operational excellence, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't see anybody that works tickets unhappy about that,
Right.
as long as it doesn't disrupt their day to day, in a negative way. Anyway, And that's what you've seen it years past. It's been a problem like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen plenty of products that were created that became a standalone that couldn't work together with. The reality is, whether it's ConnectWise, Kaseya, whoever, those are the core products.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be complementary to those core products. Those are the
Right.
anchors. And if you're not, then you've defeated the purpose.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
That's
if you want to be, you know, in this space, you've got to have partners that can work with you and
Sure. Yes.
make sure that you're going to provide the service you've promised.
So who's your favorite person at Moovila?
You can say Jared. Totally. He's my favorite person too.
Jared really
Yeah.
is my favorite person.
Thank you for being honest. Appreciate
I
your
really,
candor.
I love Vince though. He's great.
It's hard
so-
not to like Vince, let's be honest. Anything else that we're missing that we'd like to add to this?
No.
I covered a lot here.
We covered a lot of ground. Thank
my
you so
gosh,
much for all the
yeah.
work that you put in and the transformation that you've made at 5 Stars paying dividends. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean,
appreciate
and you
it.
got a raise.
Yeah, did.
Again, right back to it. Now, again, but any user that's watching this should really know that. Back to quantifying. If you can take something from nothing, that's being reactive, make it proactive, and the company makes profits from it, then you have a case to say why you deserve more.
Mm-hmm.
You should be an entrepreneur within the business.
Mm-hmm.
You should own your own book of business, whatever it is, and you've done that, and that's impressive. And I think people should pay attention to that. I think that's the real lesson. Ultimately, I mean, Moovila is great and all, but the reality is it could have been anything for you, but you learned how to capitalize a good product, plug it into your day to day, and actually, and you're probably your best customer. It sounds like too. I mean, maybe they should.
Very much so.
Maybe they should.
I do have to give my mom credit though. No, really do.
Are we doing a speech in God?
No. For like really,
No,
she like instilled this work ethic in me my entire life. I don't do anything halfway. It's you know.
That's awesome.
I credit her because I work my tail off all the time. So
does Vince.
And
She said-
she's here in Chicago.
she's
We should
actually
have-
here,
We should have
so-
brought her.
Bring your mom in.
she's at the hotel.
She's at the hotel.
Yeah.
We'll be she'll be there tonight. We'll be hanging out. Bring her on down.
Love it.
All right. Anything else we want to add? No, I think we're good.
This was awesome, and I was
I know.
nervous for absolutely nothing.
Great job.
Did I make 5 Star look good too? Did I
You
do
did.
that?
You
You
did.
absolutely
Okay.
did.
You
Yeah,
made
nice
Vince
job.
look way better than he normally does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Stop.
I need all the help I can get. Thank
Hey,
you.
hey.
Can you work it so I don't sound like a complete hillbilly?
It's the charm.
Very charming.
You don't even sound like a hillbilly. You sound perfectly normal.
Liar.
So with that, it's a great note to end on. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Sean being called a liar with the hillbilly and Vince. So from the CompTIA basement studio, we're out of here.